Welcome to Householders, a conversation about American life as Zen practice. I'm Inga Annie Wade.
And I'm Kyosaku John Mitchell, and we're lay members of the Atlanta Soto Zen Center. It was wonderful to see you on Sunday.
Yeah, so this is not your first time at the Zen Center because you did Jukai there, and I don't know if you went other times, but this is your first regular Sunday with the group being there.
Yeah, my first Zazen.
Yeah, and I noticed for me right away that I was a little rusty on all of the formalities.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been there in a while. So I haven't been there and done the Zazen practice since the beginning of the pandemic. So normally, I don't know why I didn't do it now, but normally Sensei walks everybody through the okay, now you bow to the Roshi 3 times and now you do this. And now, I mean, he did it a little bit, but a lot of times he'll do the whole thing and just tell us what to do.
Yeah.
Because you always have newcomers coming anyway. So even if 40% know what to do, the other 60% might not. So I don't know. He didn't do it as much this time. And I was like, wait, do I bow now or do I bow? Or is it the Roshi he's bowing right now? Is this just kind of one of those bell chimes that you don't bow to? Yeah. And, to anybody who may have come to a Zen center and felt that way, don't worry. It's okay. Obviously, we've said here a million times that the most important thing is the sitting and the form that you take then. So something that Sensei always says, bowing is always appropriate.
Yeah, couldn't hurt.
So if you don't know what to do, no one's going to get mad at you if you bow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing a pretty seat of my pants too. It's always a little bit different everywhere. And I tried my best to catch all the protocol by watching on Zoom, but you can't always see everyone. So, I followed along. It's also something you learn growing up Jewish in Jewish services is how to follow along 5 milliseconds behind the person next to you.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing at exactly the right speed that no one can tell. So that practice comes in handy in novel environments. But our sangha is pretty low key about whether you know what's going on or not, and about laughing in the middle of services if something gets weird or something like that, which isn't the case in every Zen environment that I've been in. Some of them are very serious. But it doesn't seem like that's ever been our thing. That doesn't sound like it was Matsuoka Roshi's thing. It's just about doing it and feeling happy about it, really. Bowing is one of those examples of one of the things that you just sort of do joyously, and it's not really about formality. It's about, movement and activity itself, just having fun.
Well, yeah, and there for sure, and I do like the gratitude aspect. We bow, to the Roshi, we bow to the Sangha, and we bow to each other and ourselves, whatever. We bow to just everything. And then sometimes it's just nice to bow because you were sitting for so long, and
yes.
It's like a little stretch, and some people will get all the way to their knees and bow, which my knees are kind of, if it was like a yoga mat, I would do it, but on the hard floor, that's too much for me. But I could see that being really nice, a nice stretch for you right after right after the practice.
There's one time in the entire year of Jewish holidays where there's a full floor prostration that's exactly the same basically as the Zen one, and I always loved that. People get in the aisles and do it, and there's something cool about the way that in just the sort of normal Sunday service that we do, when there's bells and incense being offered around the Heart Sutra, the person leading the ceremony does this full prostration on this humongous luxurious pillow on the floor. And we all do a sort of normal gasho bow in sync with those bows. And as a sort of emphasis or accent on that person's bow, and it feels very kind of symbiotic to me. You know what I mean? Like we're all sort of bowing once together. It's not like it's very out of my head. It's like all participating in one movement. It's one of the things I love about it.
Yeah. I mean, so we'd been kind of waiting for this moment for a while where we would start being able to go back to the Zen Center. And I know it can be hard for you, even, making sure someone's watching your kids or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard no matter what. But it was really exciting to see everybody, even though it was a small crowd. We're still integrating the online stuff in there, which I thought was really good, and that we need to keep up because there's people who are further away participating at the Zen Center, and kind of we're finding like a way to do it in a hybrid setting. But yeah, I mean, what were your thoughts like coming into Zazen practice with everybody in this practice for the first time?
Yeah, the online thing was cool. I was expecting that to feel strange, or actually really what I was expecting was for it to feel secondary, like it was kind of happening over in the corner and we were doing the real thing and people were sort of watching from some little corner. But by now they've got it feeling very natural. I mean, they've just been doing it so much, for so many months straight.
And also, like, I know those people, a lot of I mean, I don't know everybody, but I've been here for a while, so I know a lot of those people. So I was like, yeah, I know you.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of them in person and stuff, so it's not like some randos on the internet.
And like, it's usually me, right? Like I'm on there every Sunday pretty much. And I feel like I've been participating, but I wasn't sure how it was going to feel on the other side. But it absolutely feels like the people online are participating. And I think that it's really important that we keep doing that and that screen stays there, because it's the only way for the whole distributed Silent Thunder Order world to participate in stuff together. And, it's not just about the pandemic. It's about connecting this network of people in our Sangha that are all over the place and will always be.
I 100% agree with you. I think like Buddhism in general, just all Buddhism, only makes like up 1% of the US population.
Right.
So I'm sure Zen Buddhism is even a smaller portion of that 1%. So if we want a network of people, we're going to have to like be creative with how we're allowing people to be a part of the Sangha. And so, yeah, I think that was really important to have that hybrid setting for sure.
Yeah, and it feels comfortable, and I'm glad it was there. What else about it? There was a lot riding on it for me, feeling like I haven't sat in a Zendo. I haven't sat really with that many other people. I mean, you and I sat together in the backyard one time. Amy and I sat together in the backyard. And then there was Jukai, which we didn't really do Zazen, or like I wasn't there early enough to go to Zazen or whatever it was. I'm past the point of sort of nervousness or expectations about meditation, but I did feel like something significant was different about sitting in the Zendo. It's not even that I felt like it was more significant at the time. It was that coming in, I was like getting really excited and, wearing all black and all that stuff. And, that picking a spot, thinking about like which wall I wanted to be looking at, there were all these like real physical considerations. And then I sat down and just really dropped it all very quickly and sat in a very uncomplicated way, very present with just what was happening, and not just what was happening in the room, but also thinking about my family at home. And, I was thinking about it a little bit, but really more, I was just sort of feeling continuous with it. Like at the same time that I'm here in this room, there is back indicator in my house. My wife and her sister and my kids are playing and, eating lunch and all of that stuff. And they're doing that so I can be here. And it all felt very expansive and very cohesive to me. It didn't feel like I was away from them, or I wasn't stressed out by the idea of being apart from them. I was very grateful to them for the opportunity to be able to be there, and I really hope that I continue to get that opportunity. And one of the things that I came home and said that did sort of arise as a thought during Zazen was that my wife had said something about wanting to go to shul on Saturday mornings to Shabbat services, but like as her own personal spiritual practice time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it for, like 1 second, and I realized if we were both going to Shabbat services for our own personal spiritual rejuvenation, one of us wouldn't get it because we would have to bring the kids and we would have to watch the kids. And, last year, even just with the one kid last year, it was so hard for me to go to services because I was really just trying to keep a kid quiet in a quiet room and not really getting to pray.
They don't have like childcare services there. I mean, like, I'm not saying like we don't have that. It would be nice, but
yeah, I mean, they sort of do, but then you have to go, like you can't the with a kid that small anyway, like there are like at a certain age there you drop them off for the kids portion of the thing and you come back.
Yeah.
But even still, like, it's designed around a very, I don't know what to call it, Americanized vision of what adults want to do in services. So, the part that the kids, and this is older kids I'm talking about, older kids than I have, the part that kids are typically away for in services is like the sermon, like the mind part, the intellectual part.
Yeah.
The Torah service, like the reading of the weekly Torah portion, which is both an intellectual and spiritual exercise. Like there's a lot of majesty around the way that reading is conducted, but then it's like people talking about the story.
Yeah.
And the actual praying part, I mean, most people actually just skip it because it's so long and it's beforehand. But like that, the point for me of going to some communal religious service is always for some form of spiritual practice. And it's not to use my mind to think about topics or stories. And that, that part wasn't possible for me to participate in when I was bringing a little kid to services.
Which part? I'm sorry, I got confused.
The praying part.
Okay. But that's the ideal part for you.
That's the only reason I go.
Okay.
Like the reason I go is because I want to have a spiritual experience.
It is kind of like the most like meditation, or it could be like its own type of meditative practice in a way. So I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, it's no Zazen, but it counts for something.
Yeah, no.
So like I would
no judging.
I would redesign Jewish services in a lot of ways for a lot of reasons, but the fact of the matter is if my wife and I both go together, one of us gets to pray while at most one of us gets to pray at a time. Whereas now, because of the way that things have worked out, both in our just sort of personal practice and in our lives, we both want to do something. We both need some time to restore ourselves spiritually on our own. Mm-hmm. And we both have ways we want to do it with other people who are doing that practice, and they're on different days of the weekend. So, for so long, I've sort of worried about whether there's a conflict here between me wanting to go do Zen stuff and her wanting to do more Jewish stuff. But actually, because they're on different days, it's possible for us to both get our time. And so what I'm hoping is that we'll be able to work out a way where she can go on Saturday morning and I can stay with the kids and do some kind of Shabbat thing with them, but, not go to synagogue or whatever. Or just fully immerse myself in childcare at synagogue so that Ariel can be in the service. Mm-hmm. And then on Sunday, she takes them so that I can go to the Zendo. And that seems like possibly sustainable on a week-to-week basis. And that felt like a very important thing to me after last Sunday because of how just wonderful it was to be there.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be amazing. And I hope you guys can find a good cadence with that. I'll say, like, even though this was, your first Zazen with us, it felt like you had been there the whole time. So it didn't feel weird to me that you were there. I was like, yeah, well, you're part of the Sangha, so here you are at the Sangha,
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I was thinking, with some of the newer members, Amy too, that I don't know how well the newer members feel like they're integrated because they came in, including you, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But to me, you all feel like you are the Sangha. So it never, you all integrated so well. Then like they're the Sangha, and like I didn't ever feel like these are the original Sangha members. They've been around for years, and they are the Sangha, and here's some new people that just came in. It didn't feel that way to me. It felt like the newer members are still as important as the members that have been around since the 70s.
Yeah. It probably varies a lot from person to person. And I certainly feel like there are lots of people that I don't know. I mean, some of that obviously is just by virtue of not having been in the space. And some people aren't so into the online part and probably show up every week in the space and everybody knows them. And I've just never met them because I've never been there. And because they haven't been in the Zendo because of COVID. But I certainly feel fully integrated into Sangha life, but that's because of the stuff I've taken on to do, the way of participating. And I would imagine that Amy feels similarly, given, especially now that she's got the newsletter project. And, some like people who have sort of found an offering, I bet feel like they've fit right in. And I wonder how other people feel. I mean, that those people, if you're listening, you would be the people that we would love to have on the show next, because if you feel like you haven't found your place in the Sangha yet, let's come talk about it in front of everyone in the Sangha. And then somebody might hear something you say and have an idea, and away we go.
Yeah.
But it's also just something I want to know is just how this transition of, actually it's kind of like a lot of different transitions of different kinds all at the same time, like how all of these transitional things about life in our Sangha now is affecting different people. I want to hear about that. I want as broad a perspective on it as I can, because as much as there is a sort of unity around these Sunday services, it's still very isolated just by virtue of the online nature and people's different ability to participate. Like it's not like everybody who is a part of the Sangha comes even regularly at all to services on Sunday. And there's still a lot of people that I've never talked to one-on-one, even though I do know who they are. And this is something we should work on. We should find more ways to connect everybody. But we are creating new ways all the time, and that's still really cool. And having people come in on a Sunday like we just did and talk about how we are involved with each, like talk to each other about how we're involved and how long we've been coming and what our sort of Zen story is. That is kind of cool. It's not just like assumed that we all do the same thing and, have participated in the same way. There's a lot of shared context that makes it possible for us to share our sort of stories of being of Zen and of this Sangha in particular, and have them all be very different.
Nobody was born into this religion. Not here.
Nobody in our Sangha.
Nobody here. Not like nobody in the world, but so everybody's chosen to be here, which I think is really special. Mm-hmm. And whenever I see like someone new, I want to make sure that they feel like as welcome as possible, because I know like we've all been there, like we have all taken the leap to go to this place or join a community that we don't know anybody, and we don't know how they're going to be, and we don't know, like, it's a religion, so is it going to be like just unwelcoming, or like feel like it's exclusive or something like that. And I get excited when I see new people. I'm like, this is an opportunity to really make them feel like this is a community, and that's the point.
Mm-hmm. There's something else that I noticed in there, and it's not the first time I've ever felt this feeling, but it was a lot stronger than it has ever been before, which is that having Zazen as the sort of binding agent, the sort of common purpose that everybody there has, no matter if they've been doing it for a week or 40 years, or if they've done it outside of Zen or outside of Buddhism, and then started coming to the Zen Center to see how we do it. Whatever it is that brings people to sit Zazen, you show up, you may not know everyone, you take off your shoes, you sit down, and then you all sit together. And you feel that presence the whole time of just everybody doing this practice. And then there's this, it's not even just a sort of shared interest. When the sit is over and you start talking and listening and doing the sort of more social stuff that we do on a Sunday after the sutra chant is over, there's like a shared sensation in the room. Mm-hmm. Like everybody's feeling the same thing. And that is so powerful and also intimate.
Yeah.
That it makes the connection really strong effortlessly, because there's almost a quality to it of like, I can't believe other people do this. I can't believe that there are other people in the world who want to do this like I do. And we're doing it together. We're not just doing it alone in our homes anymore, you know? And I wonder what will change about that feeling for me over time, sitting with the Sangha day after day after day. And I know how it changes on retreat, but that all feels like very self-contained and intensified in a way that just regular Sangha life like this probably has a different and almost more endless, maybe aimless quality of just showing up and doing it. And, you know, all my time around other Sanghas, I've sort of just dropped in, and at most it's been once a week, but even so, it was like, you know, once a week for a couple weeks, and then weeks and weeks of not seeing anyone and not talking to them. And, you know, this is just so different in so many ways. And it's all because this shared practice creates this intimacy that I just feel I can just see in the eyes of everybody there.
Yeah. It is hard to explain what it is, but I can tell you, like, when I go to practice with the Sangha, I get so much energy from it. Like, I'm not a very energetic person. I would call myself low energy, but like that's the most energetic I get is like when I'm at the Sangha. And yeah, they do feed us green tea, but I feel like I've just drank an espresso or two, so but less jittery. But yeah, I think that like I feel like almost a sense of love.
Yeah.
Not that like, oh, I know all these people love me. It's just that we have cultivated that feeling together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. While we're on the subject of love, I feel like we would be remiss not to just talk about Ungan-san's story for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Because
there was so much love in that story, and there was so much love for that story. And so just to fill in everybody else who doesn't, if you don't know what's happening, Ungan, Bill Mayhew, an elder practitioner, and he's the practice leader of the Jacksonville Sangha in our order, is in the 3-month residential process at our center of getting ordained to be like a full Zen teacher. And he and Sensei go way back. His Zen story is many decades long, and there was a Rinzai period, and he's had a few different home teachers, and our Sangha has a several week long public process by which that person is sort of introduced to the Sangha and tested a little bit as a teacher of our Sangha and our order, through various forms, some of which are traditional Soto Zen rituals, and others are sort of our, simple practice of, sharing what you've learned. And this week was his sort of life Zen story telling process. Mm-hmm. And he got very emotional about it, and just talked about how just by telling the story of how he ended up in this room doing what he was doing, he shared so much of just this is the truth of Zen, of just like how things just unfold one after another. And, you know, he would use the words coincidence and karma sort of interchangeably. But what he was really saying was there's no explanation. There's no reason. It just happened, and it happened this way. And and he just seemed and felt so grateful that this is the way it happened, as hard as it was in his life. And to end up here, to have people and a sangha to practice Zen with, just seemed to fulfill him in a way that I was really grateful for and receptive to and hopeful about. And that kind of sharing is so honored in our sangha, people just sort of telling their story. And there's so much to relate to in a story of a whole life if this is where you end up.
Yeah. And he started his practice really, he was about like 55, even though there was a lot of things that influenced that to happen beforehand. And that makes me really happy in a way, because I think that we have like this idea in the West that it's like, oh, like after you reach a certain age, you really don't accomplish that much, and you just kind of like you just wait until retirement and then you can like travel a little bit or something like that. But I think that like giving yourself like, you know, a higher purpose like this, you know, and I don't know how old he is, but he's old, and you know, that he's becoming a priest at a very old age, and you know that he's finding meaning in life at, you know, a later stage in life. And I think that's awesome, because I find a lot of older people who they just feel like really bitter, or just that, you know, they didn't really get to experience what they wanted to experience or something like that. And I think that something like a community like the Zen Center or this Silent Thunder Order can give you that ability to experience things on a deeper level throughout your entire lifespan.
Sensei has this cute line that he uses all the time about becoming a priest being a retirement option. And what he usually is implying when he's saying that is like, don't get into Zen to make a living, to like have a career. Like it's not going to sustain that. And even if you can find a way to sustain that, it's going to involve doing a lot of stuff that is counter to the responsibility of that role. And, you know, Zen is not a racket, and has a lot of structures in place, and sort of immunities in it to being commodified the way that other forms of Buddhism and, you know, spiritual practice in general, especially in America, can be commodified and turned into business propositions, and people can be teachers, become influencers and all that. Like Zen is resistant to that. And, certainly the way our Sangha does things is not going to support that kind of guru lifestyle.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, you have to really want to just do it because you love it, not because you want something out of it.
Yeah. But I think there's another message to what he's saying, which is that almost that wanting it as a path at any stage of your life is kind of a red flag. And, you know, thinking about it in a long-term way, as something that you have as a goal is, I mean, it's almost just like having a goal for your Zazen, or, you know, it's not the real thing to think about, like, I want to become a Zen priest someday. Yeah. I want to get ordained. That's not how it happens in this Sangha. It's just like you hang out, you keep doing the practice, you develop the relationships, and gradually, little by little, you know, it becomes clear to your teacher that you're ready for another step. And, well, you know, a few steps later, there you are.
Yeah, maybe. But I also feel like sometimes the ego can bring you to the place and then you have to fix it later. You have to fix I don't know, that's what I took away from some of it, because I think that he was admitting to a lot of times where his ego did drive him to do things at the Zen center, and he had to kind of like unlearn that kind of idea through time. And I don't think that this idea, like, how could we do something without wanting it? I don't think it's like, you know, comes easily to people. So I think sometimes whatever gets you to sit down is good, but eventually you'll learn to not need that to sit down.
Householders is a production of the Atlanta Soto Zen Center in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Silent Thunder Order. Find us on the web at ASZC.org.
Our Sangha depends on your support. You can donate by PayPal to donate at storder.org. Gasho.